It's me, Dax, also known as Nicole DeBoer. You are listening to Random Trek.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Random Trek. I am your Comet searching captain, Christopher Ingle, and I am not joined by our first officer, Commander Brennan the Mystical Mar, as he's recovering in sick bay, and we do look forward to having him back on the show next week. But I did want to bring in a special guest. Now, I've never had this guest on my show, but I have been a guest on many of his shows. This is a man I know knows a lot about sports. He knows a lot about TV, but he's new to the Star Trek world. It's Fares Muthana. Fares, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted a special guest, and Fares had been talking to me when Starfleet Academy came out. He started watching and wasn't a big Star Trek guy before. So Fares, tell us a little bit about you coming to Star Trek and starting to enjoy the world of the Federation.
Well, it really didn't start with Starfleet Academy. I think I remember years ago, I was having a conversation one night, it was during COVID, where people started talking about Star Trek, and I kind of was like, yeah, I've heard about it. I'm more of a Star Wars guy myself. You know, well, is it good? Like, I know about William Shatner, the Spocks, the Nimoys, like, you know, the ones that are in like the cultural zeitgeist. So I knew all about them, but I wasn't like, nah, I don't really do that stuff. So I watched. So I don't remember which one it was. They're all, I think it was it's probably one of my homies from Australia, maybe. I don't remember. And they said you gotta watch the movies. And I was like, okay, cool. And like in the original TV show, I was like, all right, cool. And then they talk about how, like, this is their words, Chris, not mine. Their words, not mine. They said, oh, the movies, they go this way. They go bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good. I'm like, wait, what?
It's the old even number theory that the even number ones are better.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, that's funny. But then they recommend watching Star Trek 09. So I watched Star Trek 09. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Star Trek 09. But then they also were like, oh, we'll also watch this one. I think it was the one with the Borg Queen. With
First Contact.
I think it was First Contact. And then it was like the Borg Queen where they just dropped me in. And I'm not going to lie to you, Chris, I fell asleep. I fell asleep. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to be with this show or this IP, you know, my bad, Gene Roddenberry. Me and you, no, I'm sorry. And then one day I'm on Hulu, and there's this thing called The Orville. It's Seth MacFarlane. I'm a big Seth MacFarlane guy. I start watching The Orville, and I love The Orville. I love it. And I'm like, this show's awesome. And then I read an interview or two about it, and he says this is his love letter to Star Trek because he grew up a massive Star Trek fan. And then one day I'm at a party for my scholarship program that I won going into college, and I start talking to this dude, he's a slightly older gentleman. Shout out to him. We start talking about, oh yeah, back in the day we would sit around on CBS, watch the Twilight Zone and Star Trek. And I was like, yeah, I can never get into Star Trek. So we have this full-on conversation about Star Trek. And I was like, I got to give it a shot. One day I got to give it a shot. One day. And then, you know, that day never really came. And then, you know what? Starfleet Academy came out recently. I liked some of the promotion. I was a big fan of some of the promotion. I recognized Holly Hunter because I was like, oh, I know her because she's the voice of Elastigirl. Sorry, she probably done other films. So I decided to give it a chance. I quite enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like Starfleet Academy. I did. I even reviewed it a couple of times. And I'm just like, yo, this seems like a really cool IP to dive into. There's a lot. You know, they have Frontier, Deep Space Nine, Original, and then you have Generations. Not Generation. Is it Generations?
Next Generation.
Next Generation. Generations is a movie. So I decided to give it a shot. Me and you talked about it one night. I got very excited. I'm a big fan of the Orville. If it's, if that's the love letter to Star Trek, something must have popped in the mind of Seth MacFarlane to make that. So I got to watch the original material and all the other stuff, and I can't wait. Started watching Discovery, and then I watched a little bit of Strange New Worlds, but I need to get back into it, and I'm excited.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you're liking it. And this shows that Star Trek can be for everybody, even when initially it doesn't seem like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that there's so much content for Star Trek out there that there's something. I bet you would even like Lower Decks. I think you would enjoy Lower Decks a lot. It's more comedy on the Rick and Morty style, but it's funny and it's good. And if you like Star Trek, you might like that. But we move on. Today, we are taking a look at Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 2, Children of the Comet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Cadet Uhura heavy episode, and I really like it. One of my greatest complaints always about the original series is that Uhura never has anything to do. It bothers me. I love that she's there, and the representation of having a bridge officer be a black woman was huge. It's enormous. We can't demean the importance of that, but she still had nothing to do, and it always bugged me. Well, over the years, Uhura's been given more to do, and this is a great example of that. So let's get into the episode, and then we'll talk a little bit about the portrayals and the different things we got going on here. So,
Absolutely.
Uhura, we open up. Uhura is in her dress uniform, her cadet dress uniform. She's been invited to a meal in the captain's quarters, a big deal. And when she gets there, she finds out that this is a hazing. That traditionally people go to the captain's quarters, and it's supposed to be more casual. The captain wants to get to know the crew and stuff like that. But she shows up in her dress blues, and it's just kind of funny that way, or dress reds, as the case is. But it's just kind of funny. But she ends up revealing that she's unsure about what her future in Starfleet is going to be. She only joined Starfleet as a way to escape the pain of her parents' death. Her parents and her brother died in a shuttle accident. So she was left alone, and she was going to go to university
That happens a lot
in Africa.
in this world.
Yeah, and it does.
Yeah.
But she couldn't handle the memories because her parents were also teachers at the university she was going to go. So she joined Starfleet Academy. She's always had a penchant for languages. She loves language. And so being in communications was a right place for her to go. But the Enterprise crew end up meeting up with this comet that is set to collide with a planet that has these pre-warp individuals on it. Now, as we all know,
of high intelligence.
They are intelligent.
They always throw the word high intelligence in there because they want to make sure those species get a long life and possibly a warp connection in a couple of years.
Right, but Prime Directive is always important. We never interfere. They can't know we exist. Okay. So what they do is they try to nudge it out of the way. It doesn't work. And they're like, all right, we'll just blow up the comet. Cool. And they fire at it, but a force field around the entire comet pops up. That's unusual.
Yeah.
So Uhura joins an away team with George Kirk, who is captain. Well, he's not captain yet, but Kirk's older brother. Spock.
Older brother. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's his older brother.
I thought it was his dad. Okay.
No. That's Sam Kirk. Okay. If you remember from 2009, Chris Hemsworth, that's Sam Kirk. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to say this. It is Sam, but it's George. It's really weird that it's both names. Anyway, it's his brother is the point.
Okay. Oh, his brother. Okay.
I think it's
because I don't want to look ahead.
I think it's Samuel George Kirk. I can't remember. Yeah. Or George Samuel.
I don't want to look ahead.
Yeah. Kirk is no.
Paul Wesley,
but
show, right?
It is. Paul Wesley is Captain Kirk, but we don't see him until season 2 or end of season 1, I think. Anyway, so they send them over to investigate this comet. when they get there, they discover this chamber that resonates to sound and music. That's interesting. Meanwhile, an advanced starship of shepherds of the comet show up, and they are escorting this comet, and they position themselves between it and the Enterprise, and they call it Mahanit. And they believe that this comet is a being called Mahanit, and it is an ancient arbiter of life. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. The crew on the inside is trying to figure out what's going on. Uhura figures out that using harmonics, using music, she could speak to it, and looking at the symbols and how they resonate, she sings a song, which is something Uhura does. She does hum and sing, and we see her singing down the line. It's something that comes up again and again and again. But it opens up this comet, and we don't quite know how to predict what's inside, but something is inside of it, and it reacts, and it ends up bringing down the force field. The Enterprise realizes they cannot look like they're interfering with the comet, or they'll be destroyed by these shepherds. So they secretly, what they do is they rush into the comet's debris tail. They rush into it and secretly launch a shuttle by Spock.
Yes.
And they look like they've been damaged, and the species go ahead and tractor beams them out, pulls them out, but Spock is there and they don't realize it. Using Spock's engines and using the shuttle, they crack the comet just a little bit to alter it off course.
Yeah, with the heat shields of the shuttle and the trajectory path.
And so what it does is, they do alter it, and as it passes by the planet, it ends up releasing water vapor into the atmosphere that actually improves the conditions of life that are on the planet.
Bringer of life.
So Uhura ends up decoding the music and the data from the comet. And what she finds is that it actually expected this interference, like it was supposed to happen. And then Pike kind of ponders about the origins of the comet, and was this a coincidence? Was this predestination? What is this? And he basically goes, I have no idea. But while he's doing this, he's also thinking about the lives of the cadets that he is destined to save by sacrificing himself, something that we know future Pike will have to do. We learned that in Discovery. We'll also learn that in the Menagerie in the original series. So we know where this is going, but this is always on Pike's mind. But Uhura begins to see her place in Starfleet, and it's a really nice touch.
It's really nice. I quite enjoyed it.
Fares, I want to focus on my girl here. What do we think of Uhura?
I like
this episode.
I quite enjoyed it, right? Because it's still early on, Uhura, right? It's not fully fledged out. We know who she is. We know what they're doing. Like, here's the thing about these prequel series is, right, is what were they like young, right? Because we know them. We know them when they're like full-fledged adults. Like, what are they like young? And she seems very intuitive, insightful. She wants to learn, but she doesn't know who she is yet. Like, who is she? So seeing the evolution of her lover communications and seeing languages aren't just languages, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like me and you speaking English or me and you speaking Spanish. Languages can transcend the language barrier, if you know what I mean, right? Because they talk about this all the time, right? You know, with world football, right? You know, soccer in America, we call it. It's a lot of people on a team. They don't all speak the same language. You have people from, who speak English. You have people who speak Spanish, German, Italian, you name it, depending on the group of people, but they know how to communicate. They know how to talk to each other. They know what to do and it showed the importance of her character and her evolution of going from, not like, it wasn't like an extreme deviation, but it's just a little bit of growth, growing, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, this whole series is predicated on a lot of nostalgia, it really is. But where this really gets it is they really tap into the flavor and the feel of the original series while still being modern.
Mhm.
You know, this overall of the new Trek critically has been the most successful. Critics were very mixed on Discovery. They liked Lower Decks, but it's a very different tone.
Mhm.
Academy did not fare so well. It was good critically ish, but didn't get enough. There's a lot behind it. There's a lot. But this series is one that has consistently been, we like this. This is really good. And they're willing to take chances and do something that the original series tried to do. Not every original series episode worked. This so far over 3 seasons, and we're about to get a fourth season beginning this summer, is it's hitting on every note every time. And
So
building,
of the new shows, this is kind
yeah,
of like the critic and fan crown jewel in a sense.
this and season 3 of Picard, but that was just nostalgia 100%. But it just
Mhm.
was well written.
Okay,
But this one I really
which
enjoyed.
is very hard. It's harder
It
actually.
is. It's very hard to do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why I'm a big
But
fan
I,
of Cobra Kai. How they do it.
yeah.
Yes.
But I thoroughly love Uhura in this. We also see the buttoning feelings from Nurse Chapel about Spock, which is something that comes back over and over again in season 2 and season 3. Um, we begin to see those kind of feelings and emotions, and even Uhura calls it out. Uhura is very good at pegging the emotions of others. She's
Her
kind of
emotional
like the counselor
intelligence.
without being. She's Counselor Troy
Yeah,
without being Counselor Troy.
yeah. Her emotional intelligence is very high.
Mhm.
And
And I really like this portrayal of Uhura. She is just so fabulous. It is Celia Rose Gooding, and she only gets better in the series.
she doesn't also too like right because playing an iconic character, you can at some points do a caricature of the original actor,
Mhm.
right? You're just kind of copying them. But the thing is, you're copying an adult version of them. You're copying like kind of like an evolution, a stage in evolution that you shouldn't be copying because you're not
Mhm.
there yet. So it's very hard to show organic growth to get to the point where people fell in love with Uhura, right?
Mhm.
Like so you have to show the evolution. I'm not gonna lie because like we said earlier, I'm not fully well versed in the Star Trek. Watched the original series. I've watched an episode or two. So I'm just going off what people say about Uhura, and I quite enjoyed her as well.
Right. And I guess using her
Oh,
love of
Chris?
singing. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, my bad. You're just frozen for me. Oh, you're back.
Yeah,
You're
you
back.
were frozen for me too, but audio's still
Oh,
going,
okay.
so we're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
It's okay.
Good. Perfect. Perfect.
Technical things, but that's all right.
Okay. It's
But
my internet. My apologies.
that's okay. One of the things that I really do enjoy too with her singing is using a different form of communication, something different to really come up with a new idea. One of the complaints in the original series often was, well, they all speak English. Well, they all, it's very uniform for its time and what they had. The idea that this thing reacts and speaks in music and harmonics. That's interesting. That's really different. And as even Spock admits, there's mathematical properties in harmonics, and
Mhm.
math is a universal language. So the idea of this thing basically speaking music, speaking math, is such a cool idea. And that is the epitome of Star Trek, is that we're getting these new ideas, new ways to communicate. I'm reminded of in The Next Generation when Picard and in Darmok and Jalad, where he's kind of on the surface with this captain, and this captain, they can't communicate with each other. They're not understanding each other. And what Picard figures out is that this captain's species speaks in metaphor. They
Mhm.
don't speak literal and direct, they speak in metaphor. Picard had to learn to do that. That was so creative a different way to communicate information. And Uhura discovers that in this way using song. So really just, I like the building of that. The set is beautiful. Now, some people don't like the 3D, the 3D sets. So it wasn't created for Strange New Worlds. I think Discovery started it. But basically they have this giant sound stage that is surrounded by a live projecting screen that goes all the way around. And you can project whatever set you want on it and then build in the middle. So you can have anything in the background and it's not blue screen. It doesn't look bad. It blends in seamlessly. A lot of people have complained, like, it feels so fake and we're not on site anymore and we're not doing sets. And I'm like, this is amazing technology. I absolutely love this. All of the new Trek uses it at some point or another, which I enjoy thoroughly. What do you think? What do you think of the sets and that look?
I'm fine with it. I'm cool with those because here's the thing, Chris. We wouldn't know unless they tell us.
Yeah.
You don't know they're on a new different like that's the thing, right? With Star Wars, right? When they do those behind the scenes things and they show you number like that I think it was season 1 of The Mandalorian where they created the new set. I don't know what it was called, the vault or the whatever the hell it was called. But
yeah,
you wouldn't know about that if they didn't show you everything.
mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know. You don't know that they're on a multi-dimensional 3D set with projections of cameras and imagery if they don't tell us. Because here's the thing, right? I go back to what Ian McKellen said when he was on The Hobbit. He walked onto The Hobbit happy because he remembers being on Lord of the Rings. You know Lord of the Rings, real chainmail, real swords, they're on location in New Zealand. They're walking up mountains. They're seeing it's real. You're on location. Stuff was built that way. He walks in to talk to the hobbits. He's in a room and it's just green. And he's like, in his own Ian McKellen, very cool, British regal way, he loses it. He's like, this isn't acting, Peter. What is this? I don't understand what this is. This isn't acting. I don't agree with this. And he loses his shit. So seeing where you have to give actors something to see, something to react to. Some actors don't need that. That's why some actors are really good. They can go into their mind and bring out their imaginations. Like, yes, this is a tennis ball, but this isn't a tennis ball. This is a dragon looking at me, and you can picture the dragon. But most humans can't. You need something. You need a visual representation of something so you can give the emotion. You can give the frowns and the looks and the stuff. You need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing this where they're evolving to like, oh, they're not just on a blue carpet with blue drape. They're seeing something. They're seeing something. And honestly, in most of the naked eye, you wouldn't know. And those people that be like, oh, see, it's right there. You see that? You say, no, I don't see that. Because you're annoying me and you need to stop it. You don't see it either. You just know because someone told you it's there.
Yeah. We've come a long way. I mean, and think about it. The technology that we take for granted today, we think back to Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of that really, really came into fruition. And we've evolved and grown so much from there. Mm-hmm. And I love Star Trek for that it not only evolves the technology in story, tricorders, transporters, phasers, warp drive, all of that, medical technology, yada, yada, yada. But it really progresses technology in the real world and how we do film and how we do a lot of things. I mean, shoot, you have an iPad, don't you, or a tablet?
Actually, that's the one thing I don't have.
I have an iPad, but I bought one mainly to help me with work. But the point is, that's Star Trek at work. Cell phone. You got a cell phone? Star Trek at work. It was all Star Trek. And I absolutely love that. And this episode is really a great indication of character, technology, both inside and out. It's a lot of fun. I recommend this episode. In fact, this whole series so far, no joke, I have not seen a bad episode yet. We've only had 30 episodes, and I love every one of them. One of them is a musical, Fares. Did you know that?
No, but I wouldn't put it past them because back in the day, you'd always have like a musical episode. It was kind of like a thing. I don't know
Ferris is a
why.
part on his podcast of rewatching Buffy.
Yes.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We reviewed the musical episode of Star Trek of Strange New Worlds, and they looked for inspiration from Once More with Feeling, which was the Buffy musical episode.
Yeah.
So. Anyway,
I don't understand it, but it is what it is. Scrubs had one. Scrubs had one. There was a patient who had a brain tumor, and her brain tumor made everybody sing. So, at the end, they get rid of the tumor and no one's singing. So that was kind of a cool episode in Scrubs. Shout out to Scrubs.
yeah, a lot of shows use the musical episode from time to time. House has done it. Grey's Anatomy has done it.
Yeah.
It's a common trope. It is used, but it's not used that much. But for
Yeah.
a while there, everybody was doing it.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoy this. Every time here's the thing, right? So, what's weird is it every time I watch this IP or franchise, whatever you want to call it, I think more IP because there's 8 different versions of it, and so there's 8 different franchises. I always enjoy it.
Right.
I just don't go back to it as often as I should, but I always enjoy it. And I got to start getting into it more, right? I got to maybe start watching the original series. I know the original series is a little old, is in the 60s, but
it can be a little tough for some people. It can be. I love it. And again, not every episode is great, but there's some gems.
There's some bangers.
That are absolutely. I
definitely know.
Love to give you some recommendations later on off air. Give you some recommendations for some good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm 4 episodes in or 4 or 5 episodes in on Discovery, because I know in the timeline reason Discovery isn't before everything.
Yeah,
on the timeline, and then they then they jump in the future. I know that was
because the
funny.
second season they introduced Captain Pike and the Enterprise and all of that. Yeah. And then that's what led to the back door to do Strange New Worlds. So it's the same cast.
Big fan of the backdoor pilot. I'm always a big fan of the backdoor pilot.
That's another trope. Even Gene Roddenberry himself tried a backdoor pilot with Star Trek before, so it didn't work, but he tried.
NCIS had a backdoor pilot on JAG.
Oh yeah, well we all see how that turned out. What is it, 20-something years later?
Yeah, 21, 22, and then a sequel series that had 17, and then 2 other sequel series that went 5, and then another sequel series, a prequel series going 2 seasons, and then a new one coming in New York. Yeah.
Welcome to Star Trek. That's how we do it. We just spit off of everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we go to the original series, as a matter of fact. Well, so let's see what our randomizer gives us for next week's episode. All right. Wheel of Morality, turn. Tell us the season that we should burn. And season 1, episode 20, Court Martial. That's a good one. I like this one. Kirk's in some trouble, and he's up for Court Martial, and it's a good mystery. A lot of fun. I like this episode. I recommend it, Ferris. Check that one out. Court Martial. Check that out. All right. Well, Ferris, thank you for subbing in for Brennan today. You got stuff to plug?
No, just our channel. Let's Get Ready Networks. The post credits where we do all our entertainment stuff. Rewatchers Council's movies and reviews, movie reviews, TV reviews. Actually tonight on the post credits. I don't know when this is being released. When is this being released?
This will probably be released sometime later this week.
Okay, so you probably already passed it. We're doing a review of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Delia and Brandy, they do it usually Sundays. So be on the lookout for that.
We've had Adelia on the show before.
Yeah. And then on the sports channel, we have a soccer show on Tuesdays, 5:00 Pacific. Our eponymous show, Good Friends, Better Rivals. Me and Caleb, we talk NFL football every Fridays, 5:00 Pacific. This coming week, if this is being released
schedule,
later,
baby.
Yeah, if this is being released in the week, the schedule comes out on the 14th. We'll probably do a video on that, and then it's going to be pre-recorded and then drop it at 5:00 on a Friday. So be on the lookout for that. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend Let's Get Ready. They are awesome. I have done many things with them. I have actually called myself the first patron.
You are.
When they first started going to Patreon, I was the first member, so I called myself the first patron.
Let's Get Ready Network.com. It's like one-stop shop right there.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun. Please come, and they're pretty awesome.
Mhm.
All right. You could find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us in all of the places that you normally find your podcast. Page turners, we're of course we're not just doing Star Trek, but we are doing Brennan regularly does Star Wars. That's mainly a Star Wars podcast, but a lot of things on the channel. Fares, we have been talking about doing Orville, and eventually we are probably going to do an overview of Orville, maybe a longer episode. I'd love to have you on to talk about Orville.
Yeah, I love Orville.
I love
I watched that series 3 times.
And I hear rumors we might finally be getting a 4th season.
Maybe that's what I've heard.
I hear it. I hope. Man, I hope so.
Seth needs to get. He needs to stop trying to be a big band singer. Okay, all right, go do. No, he can sing. He's a good crooner.
He's very good.
Yeah,
I have one of his albums. He
has multiple albums, multiple Christmas albums, multiple albums. He actually bought old Frank Sinatra tapes and he re-released them as.
I think he has the rights of Frank Jr., his son, and he got a hold of a lot of that stuff through that means. Yeah.
So,
awesome.
But stop singing. Start shooting.
More Orville.
More Orville.
Maybe a little less Family Guy. More Orville.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and of course, you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Ingle1984. But as always, we end every episode. Kapla! And live long and prosper.
Is that Klingon?